Hello, everyone. Let's do some talking tonight. This is now a YouTube video. Hey, YouTube audience. It's Stuff from the Place. What's going on? Bans are coming up in a few days, and I have already done a video about this, but, you know, my mind changes more than I change my underwear. What a feat. But anyway, my mind changes on these things sometimes, and the more I think about it, the more there's two tracks that I keep going down. Two roads diverge in the wood that is my mind. It is, in fact, a dense forest. And all I keep thinking is, come Monday, we either ban a lot of stuff. We ban so much. We ban stuff you didn't think we'd ban. That's the big one, right? Like, don't ban Monstous Rage. Don't ban Corey Stillcutter. Jim Davis did a video about this the other day. Go check his stuff out. Jim Davis, for pro Magic player, very good guy, entertaining. Not the Garfield Jim Davis, the Magic Jim Davis. You check him out. But he was talking about how you should ban this, that, and the other instead. And I think he made some good points. I think banning stuff like Manifold Mouse, for instance, or Screaming Nemesis are kind of plays that seem like deep cuts at first, but actually make a lot of sense when you get to thinking about it, you know? If you ban Manifold Mouse, that basically takes Embercleave potential away from these decks, which is a big deal. You know, Embercleave was kind of a card everybody hated. And Manifold Mouse, especially with the Offspring, feels kind of a lot like an Embercleave sometimes. And I could see people, you know, maybe thinking banning that would be a good idea instead of Rage, whatever. Now, my other tack, I guess dovetailing from that, right? This the right side of the tracks here, is that they could also ban a lot of stuff, you know, not just Emberheart Challenger or whatever, you know, and Screaming Nemesis and Manifold Mouse. I don't think they'll do that. But as we've spoken about before, they might have to ban, you know, you ban this card from Mono Red, or you ban Cutter and Monstous Rage from Red and Izzet. Well, now you got to ban, you know, Up the Beanstalk. You got to ban Omniscience. You got to ban Aborinoculus, right? That deck rises. And you got to ban this and that and the blah, 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 blah. It just becomes like a real problem because we actually do, in some ways, have like a list of established decks in Standard, even if all it feels like you play against is Mono Red and Izzet. There's a pretty good, like, you know, S, A, B tier sort of ranking of decks right now. And you could make the argument, right? Personally, at the end of the day, I do think that at the very least, Monstous Rage needs to be banned. But what I keep thinking, what the big red, just a red light flashing in my head. And Covert Go Blue has a video kind of saying the same thing. Go check out CGB's video sort of on the same topic. Shouting out everybody today. They might not ban anything. They just might not ban anything, man. His argument is that they'll use numbers and such to be like, oh, this deck had the highest win percentage at the Pro Tour, and it wasn't Cutter, it wasn't Mono Red. It was like Orzhov Demons or something. I also think that there was a Golgari Graveyard deck, the Insidious Roots deck, that had a really good win rate at the tournament, but, you know, didn't make it through to the top 8, mostly because the density of Cutter and Mono Red was so high. So even if Mono Red and Cutter didn't have a great, you know, win percentage on the weekend, enough decks came to the tournament to push them through to the top 8 exclusively, which I think should say something beyond what numbered stats say, right? Like, just the amount of people that showed up thinking either one of these decks was the best deck in the format is very, very high. So there's that. Meta share counts. That's a number. Hey, meta share counts. You know what I mean? But I think that he's got something there, CGB does, that maybe they'll use numbers to justify, like, hey, it's not as bad as you think. All right, but this is what I think they'll do if they go no bans. And I do think, as the days creep on, I think the likelihood is higher and higher. They say no bans on this. But they will say, hey, and I've gotten a lot of this in my comments section lately. People saying, oh, now Standard is 3 years with no rotation and what a slog and blah, 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 blah. They're correct. I'm not like trying to make those people sound like dumb. They're right. I don't really like the 3-year rotation window either, to be honest. But I think that Wizards will use that 3-year rotation window. They'll bring that up. They'll say, hey, guys, what's the reason that we went to the 3-year rotation window in the first place? You guys remember the reason? Stability. Stability was the big reason why we are going to 3-year rotation. We want you to be able to keep your cards longer, play your cards longer. And as part of that announcement, I don't have it in front of me, but I seem to remember that as part of that announcement, they addressed not only stability inherent in, you know, pushing back rotation by a year, But the stability inherent in maybe not going around banning stuff willy-nilly, Standard was in a good place a year or two ago when they first made these announcements. May not be in as good of a place now, and obviously familiarity breeds contempt, and we're pretty familiar with this format. So there's that. But I think they may use the stability argument. Like, hey, we don't want to ban stuff and shakes things up. We've gotten data on that. Everyone's told us they don't like when that happens, right? They will use, I believe, the fact that they went to a more, quote, stable model for Standard as a justification not to ban anything if they choose not to ban anything. I think that the chance that they ban Monstous Rage is still relatively high. If you want an incredibly just flaming hot take, that will never happen. It'll never happen. But with Wizards of the Coast, sometimes you can never say never. We've already discussed that early on in the stream tonight. And so this isn't even a, like, if I had my druthers kind of thing. I'm not saying this is what they should do, but what would be neat? You know what would be neat? I think it's a neat idea. If they just say everything rotates, everything that's going to rotate rotates in like a month and a half here. August 1st, everything that's going to rotate, everything that's already going to rotate rotates. As does Throne of Eldraine, or Wilds of Eldraine, or whatever this one's called. It's Wilds of Eldraine. So all the stuff that was going to rotate rotates, and also Wilds, which wasn't going to rotate. Now, that has Monstous Rage. That has Up the Beanstalk, right? That has a number of other cards that people tend to play a lot of. Interesting. It's also, Wilds is, I think, worth noting, the oldest set in Standard that's not going to rotate. So they could justify it that way. Again, comment section, this won't happen. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I just sometimes like to give a wild, blown out take. Because again, it's Wizards of the Coast, and you just do not, you have no idea. Turns out all these cards are restricted. That's what we're doing. Again, they won't do that, but wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be nice? But anyway, I think we should go back to restricting cards, first of all. That's another probably cold take. That one's been in the freezer for a while now, but I wish we would do that again. But one way or the other, I guess the point of all this is that my mind is changing not only every day, but it's changing back and forth, as far as the ban stuff. I think that I would like to see Monstrous Rage ban. I think that I would like to see Cutter ban, but I'm not sure that it will be. And if I had my druthers, I would ban like Omniscience. I would ban, Up the Beanstalk, like all the decks that we know will just take over anyway, Abhor and Oculus, right? But I don't think anybody really wants that. I think I'm very much in the minority on ban like 6 cards, right? And I'm sure that Wizards is the people that want to do that the least out of everybody. So I really don't expect that to happen. If I had to guess, I think they're going to whistle past the graveyard on this one and just be like, everything's fine. This is fine. The curtains are not on fire. Look, guys, look at these numbers. I'm pretty sure that's what Wizards might do at the end of the day, but we'll see. I think that a lot of people have made it known on the socials that they want something. You gotta do something. Just a little something. Can you do a thing? Is Edge of Eternities good enough to change Standard? Probably not. And obviously, rotation, maybe they'll just say buckle up till rotation. We'll see how things work out. And again, I think that's another good reason in their minds to not ban anything. Is that, we got rotation coming up, come on. But not that many good things actually rotate. And the stuff that does rotate is like the best answers, like Temporary Lockdown rotates. And like, ooh, there's got to be something in Edge of Eternities better than Temp Lockdown. And I don't think it's going to happen. So we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the more interesting ban announcement question marks in, I think, a long time for Standard specifically. Just a lot of things could happen here, and it depressingly to some people, and I guess upliftingly for others, seems like they might not do a dang thing with this thing. So we'll see about it. But anyway, I guess that ends the YouTube segment. I'm Dev from the Place. Thanks for watching. Wizards, spread love and be kind.